Happy Monday. Welcome back to another episode of Yarns with Marns. I'm really enjoying doing these episodes on Mondays. I feel like I always like to plan out my week on the Sunday and start Monday morning strong. I've always got this little mantra that I follow is your Monday morning sets the tone for the rest of the week. So I did my morning routine this morning, everything I like to do, and I knew I was going to do a podcast today. And I did one last Monday and I think 2 Mondays before that. So I was thinking Monday's a pretty good day for me to do these episodes and put out something new. And it also gives people something to think about throughout the week or throughout the day. Or if you listen to it on Monday, then, I had people with last week's episode still sending me some of their thoughts on like Thursday, Friday. And, I listened to the episode on Monday and it's got me thinking throughout the week. So I want to try to keep doing it like this on Mondays and start the week off strong with some positive thoughts. And another reason is because I've been doing yoga on Sundays with my mum in the city. And I've literally only done it twice. Yesterday was my second session, but last week we talked about something that I got from yoga on last week's episode, and then today we're going to talk about something else that popped up from yoga as well. But it feels like I'm not too experienced with going to yoga classes, so I don't know if this always happens. But last week the lady gave us a word to think about, or something to think about, was acceptance, and then yesterday I got to yoga, feeling really good. Great start to my Sunday morning, getting ready to start finish off the week strong. And the word for yesterday was balance. And this is probably like one of my favorite words, or not even my favorite word, but something that I think describes me or sums me up quite well. And for a lot of reasons, but also because I'm not sure if you're into astrology or star signs, but I'm a Libra, and Libras are really big on balance, big on like the scales, how hot and cold and all those things, and just big on balance. And so yesterday, like, I see everything as a sign. And yesterday when I got to yoga and the theme or the topic was about balance, I thought, okay, I'm meant to be here. Like, this is for me. Like, this is obviously for everyone, but I was meant to be here, hearing these messages and learning these, but also just being mindful of how I can cultivate balance in my life. And there was like certain movements throughout the class where you would be balancing on one foot or using like your leg strength and, really focusing on strengthening your legs or something like that. But at the same time, your upper body was relaxed, or the word he was using was buoyant. We were just like chilling. So it's like finding the balance between those movements and how you can, how everything works together in balance. For example, seasons of life. There's, summer and winter, hot and cold, autumn and spring or fall, whatever you call it, where the leaves fall off and when the leaves grow back and all that stuff, like there's balance and things work together in harmony to create a divine balance for the universe. So in those yoga poses, my upper body and my lower body are working together. They're not working as hard as each other, but they're working together to create balance. And balance has been something that I've lacked over the years, but really been mindful of and paid attention to in the last few years. And particularly when I went overseas actually 2022 was a big year for me with balance in general as a whole. And I learned some things, but we'll rewind back one year. We'll go to 2021, and it's my first season with the Saints. And I really was like, it was my first year coming back from ACL injury, ACL reconstruction surgery. So I was coming back from injury, trying to find my confidence again. Growing up, I never went to any like parties, or never really drank alcohol growing up. And I don't know, I was really just focused on working out and trying to make this basketball dream a reality. And in 2021, coming back from injury, first year at the Saints, I really wanted to do this again. So I made this thing that I wouldn't drink alcohol until we won the championship in July of that year, and the season started in April. So not only did I not drink alcohol, I didn't even go and hang out with any of the boys afterwards. I never went back to the apartments and chilled and played cards. And I never, I didn't really have a balance. Like, I was just all in on the recovery part. I wanted to get good sleep. I wanted to make sure my body was filled. I wasn't even playing either. Like, I never got on the court. So I was just trying to make sure I did all my extras. I'll go to the gym after the games, and really just like no balance, but more so leaning towards being disciplined and making sacrifice, which is a good thing, I think. And it's necessary to have these times. But I remember I used to read these tarot cards, and there's little like cards with quotes on them and little reminders and things like that. And I used to read these every morning when I used to do my morning meditation and stuff like that. And honestly, I don't even remember what any of them said except for one. I remember this one morning I was reading through these tarot cards, and I don't remember what the whole card said, but I'll never forget this quote. It said, "All work, no play is a recipe for disaster." And I really thought about it, and I thought, what does this mean to me? All work, no play. This whole year, this was 2021 at the time, this whole year I've just been all work, no play. I haven't been enjoying myself off the court. Not that I haven't been enjoying myself, but I've been making the sacrifice to not drink and not party and not hang out. And I realized that those are key in a team sport like playing basketball, playing cards with the boys after the games. And even if I didn't drink, chilling with the boys and hanging out at the apartments and socializing, team building, team chemistry, those are all important. And it's important to find balance. So, all work, no play is a recipe for disaster. And at the time, I was all work, no play, never went out, nothing like that. And disaster didn't happen, but it taught me a necessary lesson. And going into the next season, I really wanted to make like, I was so, well, I'll stay on 2021 for now. I was so proud of myself for staying disciplined and sticking to the habits that I wanted to build. And it was so necessary. Like, I needed to go through that phase. I needed to, like, growing up, I'm so grateful that I grew up the way I did as a teenager, not, and I was, like, I'm so grateful that I grew up the way I did as a teenager because my priorities were straight. I was working out all the time. I was never going to parties. I was never wasting my weekends partying. I was always just working out probably with my pops or just doing extras. And I'm grateful that I had those experiences. I'm grateful that that was my teenagehood and my early years was spent doing that kind of stuff because I learned balance from it. And going into the 2022 season, I really wanted to approach it differently. Okay, I've had my first year with the Saints. I've, I've had, well, it wasn't even balanced, but I applied the discipline and the sacrifice. But I realized I missed out on a lot of key experiences, and I missed out on a lot of team chemistry building and just times where I could have been enjoying it with my teammates and having fun and enjoying myself and cultivating more balance. So I went into the 2022 season with this mindset. Okay, I don't care about, or not that I don't care, but I'm just not going to take things so seriously. Like, trying to find the balance between here's taking things super seriously and here's not taking things seriously at all, and trying to find myself in the middle, or just through trial and error, trying to see if the middle is a good ground. So I still knuckle down on my training, still do my extras, still make sure I'm getting my rest, but also find the balance in, okay, I want to enjoy myself off the court. Maybe I will drink after this game, or maybe I will chill with the boys and go play cards. And, like, yeah, just after games, we'll go back and we'll just play cards or board games, or everyone will have their partners and family will come over. And if your cousin was in the city, people will come hang out and chill out with the other team sometimes. And just like finding that balance of trying to be a human first and not so much like a robot, like, okay, I'm a basketball player, I've got to do this. And it brings me to my next point of finding balance really helped me when I stopped putting my whole identity into being a basketball player and not trying to focus on just being a hooper. And like, I don't see myself now as an athlete. I don't see myself as a content creator, a podcaster. I don't see myself as all these titles and all these identities that usually we want to put ourselves into a box with. I just see myself as a spirit, a human, having a human experience. Just just a being trying to enjoy life. And when I put all my eggs into one basket of trying to just be an athlete, just be a basketball player, just be a content creator, whatever, I don't have balance because I'm just focused on that one thing. But when I step back and peel it all back and realize that I'm just a human, I'm just a spirit living in a body, I'm not a basketball player, I'm not all these things, then I don't have to feel like I have to put all my energy and intention into these things. And knowing that for me to be, like, I wear many hats, and I know that for me to be the best basketball player I can be, then I have to have balance in my outside life as well, and I have to be the best person I can be. And for me to come on here and record a podcast, I have to make sure that I'm in check off away from the microphone and make sure that I've had a peaceful morning like I did this morning, and I go for a walk and I find balance, and I understand that all these things are necessary for me to, like, hanging out with the boys after the game, playing cards, chilling, if we're drinking, whatever. Those experiences are important for me, and they help me actually to become a better basketball player because they make sure that my spirit is high. They make sure that I'm enjoying myself, that I'm happy and I'm healthy. And those are all my two, those are my two North Stars in life, is happiness and healthy, is being happy and healthy. And so for me to be the best basketball player I can be, I need to make sure that I'm happy and healthy away from the court as well. So as important as it is for me to train hard, sacrifice, have discipline, it's also equally important for me to do the opposite and to chill and to take time away from thinking about basketball. And really what helped me with this was in 2022, I did some traveling for my first time solo. Well, I visited my siblings who were living overseas, and when I was in England, I was hanging out with my brother. I was there for 2.5 months or just over 2 months. And there would honestly go times where I wouldn't even touch a basketball for about 2 weeks. And when I would go back and work out, still felt so sharp, and I felt excited to work out. You know, when you have time off something and then when you go do it again, you're really like excited to do it, you're eager to do it. That's what I found. And that's when I really realized that I don't have to be working out all day, every day. Like, just me personally, this is what works for me, is that I know for me to function at my best as a human being, I need to have balance and I don't need to be worrying about basketball all the time. And so I was in England and I would, yeah, not even touch a basketball for like 2 weeks. And I really realized that, whoa, I feel so good right now. I feel so happy. I feel so healthy. I feel like I'm filling my cup in other ways and I was, trying to go hard on the content at the time because trying to find balance that I'm not just a basketball player, but I wear many hats and I do other things and have other interests too. And I found I was really happy and I was really like, okay, now when I go back and play basketball or when I go shoot hoops down the courts or something like that, I'm excited to do it because I haven't just been slugging away. It hasn't felt like a chore. And 2022 was a big year for me in that way, and balance and finding and realizing that there's more to me than just being a basketball player. There's more to me than just the identities that I grew up thinking that I was. And balance isn't always 50-50. You know, a good example I was thinking of when I was thinking about doing this episode today was back in the day, actually a couple of years ago, I did this podcast called Treating Love and Hate the Same. And it talked about, not getting too high when you get compliments and not getting too low when you receive criticism, but just trying to find that balance in the middle, being grateful for compliments because, people are acknowledging us, and also being grateful for criticism because there's something to learn in there. And it made me think about the law of polarity and how things aren't actually opposite, but they're actually the same, If you think about a ruler, down this end of the ruler is hot and down this end of the ruler is cold, but it's still the same ruler. So it's like Goldilocks. I talked about this in the other episode. Goldilocks and the three bears with the porridge. Goldilocks couldn't make the porridge too hot, couldn't make the porridge too cold, but had to make the porridge, in the middle, balance. It's not always 50-50 sometimes, Some people might like their porridge a little bit hotter. Some people might like their porridge a little bit colder. So my point here is that balance isn't always 50-50. And the example I was thinking of when I was planning out this episode was with confidence, you don't want to have too much self-doubt, or you don't want to have any self-doubt, but you do also want to stay grounded and understand that anything could happen. And you don't want to have too much confidence. You don't want to be too cocky or arrogant, but it's like finding that right balance between, I might want to be 70%. Well, actually, a good example is this. Like, I really believe in being confident and kind of more so being more confident as opposed to the other way, because I know exactly how it feels to doubt yourself, and it sucks, and I don't really want to experience that. And after experiencing both in my life, times of self-doubt and then times of confidence, I learned that I would rather have too much confidence than too much self-doubt. So that balance for me might be 70% confidence or 75% confidence and 25% self-doubt. So the little bit of self-doubt keeps me real, or keeps me not getting too far ahead, not jumping too far ahead and expecting things and feeling entitled. And then the 75% confidence helps me to feel entitled in a way because it makes me feel worthy and it makes me feel confident that I'm deserving of these things or whatever I'm wanting in life, that I deserve these. And then the 25% lets me know that I'm going to have to work for it. And so balance isn't always 50-50. Sometimes, we have to lean closer to another way. I love summertime personally, so I ideally would love to live one day where I can just go country to country and live in summertime. So I can have maybe 90% of my year is summer and 10% is winter. And about trying to find those balance, maybe one day I'm like, okay, I'm going to dedicate a few hours to training and I'm going to dedicate half of that time to editing my podcast. So the balance is not 50-50 or, you know, it's like in a relationship. I'm not going to be 50% masculine and 50% feminine because I understand as a male, it's my role and my job, I guess, to show up more masculine in the relationship or the connection. So I'm not going to be 50-50 and my partner's 50-50, but she will step into her feminine light more than I will, but doesn't mean I don't step into my femininity. Fuck, I don't know. Doesn't mean I don't step into my feminine gifts, but it just means that she might do that more than I do because that's her natural offering. So balance, that's a really big topic for me, especially as someone that grew up not with balance. I never used to have an off day when I was a teenager. I would feel so guilty if I had a rest day. And now I understand how important rest days are. Like for me to be the best I can be as a basketball player or as someone that plays basketball, I need to have a rest day. Like I didn't touch a ball yesterday. I didn't work out basketball and I feel great. Like I feel confident that it's not a chore. I don't feel like I need to be doing it every day like I did when I was a teenager because I know that for me to be the best spirit I can be, that I need to fill my cup in other ways too. It's like whare tapa whā, the four pillars of our house, We got our social, our body, our mind, and our spirit. Mind, body, spirit, we have to make sure all our pillars are in line to keep the house standing. So balance is really important to me. And it's important for me to just understand that we don't have to be all go, all gas, no brakes. Like, yeah, actually, we do have to have some brakes, You know how the saying, all gas, no brakes? It's actually important to have the brakes sometimes. Going downhill all gas is a recipe for disaster. Just like going through the season, not enjoying yourself, not having fun, and being fully disciplined can be a recipe for disaster. All work, no play can be a recipe for disaster. Just like all play, no work can be a recipe for disaster. So it's about finding that balance. And it's not always 50-50, but it's about finding what balance works for you. Just like I said, for me, sometimes I like to move towards something else. I like summer more than winter. So it's about finding what works for you and finding that balance. So yeah, that's what we talked about today. I'm really grateful for these yoga sessions, actually, for teaching me these things. And I've not even teaching me these things because I have this knowledge and it's in there inside me, but it just helps to awaken it a little and it helps me it's like good little reminders, just like these podcast episodes are for everyone that listens. Good little reminders and good little ways to check in and see how we're showing up in our own life. So yeah, if you're listening to this on Monday, the day I put this out, I hope you have a great week. I hope that this gives you something to think about throughout the week and maybe throughout the day. Once again, if you have any thoughts, let me know, please. I really appreciate everyone's feedback. Had some great feedback, and not even feedback, but just thoughts on last week's episode, which I really appreciate. I'm really grateful for everyone's support and appreciate everyone tapping in. If you put it on your stories, tag me so I can reshare. We'll keep building this community and keep sharing these weekly thoughts. Hope everyone has a great one. Peace and love.